Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my September wrap-up, and I read 9 books in September. The first book that I finished was Thanks for the Memory by James Flynn. I have a full book review for this, and I'll have that linked down below. But Thanks for the Memory is a science fiction novella that has to do with the dangers of social media and taking our use of social media too far. And I thought it was really, really funny and made me think with its topics on social media. And I really enjoyed that novella. And Thanks for the Memory was just released on October 1st, so it's available now, and James Flynn's channel will be linked down below. The next book I finished was Zombie Bake Off by Stephen Graham Jones, and this was the book club pick for the Creatures Everywhere book club on Goodreads. That's hosted by Literary Stoner, and I'll have that channel linked down below as well. Zombie Bake Off was another book that had some humor in it, and there were some parts that made me laugh, and it had some gnarly zombie grossness as well. But it wasn't my favorite zombie book. It wasn't my favorite Stephen Graham Jones book. It was good, but not great. I gave it 3 stars. Phineas Fogg, 9 of Swords. First book in a series, which is about Phineas Fogg, who is going to a military academy, and he also happens to have some interesting magical powers, and it is full of heart and heartbreak. It's very sad in the beginning, as an adventure-filled time at the school his first year, and that I gave 5 stars. I have a full review of it. It is going to be linked down below. Next, I read Looking Glass Sound by Katrina Ward, or Catriona Ward. Not sure how to say it. I think Katrina. And that book was the book club pick for the Midnight Book Society, which is hosted by Simon Slashers on Discord. And I love Katrina Ward's books. This one was very good. It was about a boy who and his life story having to do with this coast, and where he goes for vacations. It's kind of coming of age, where he has really good friends for the first time and learns a lot. But there's also this mystery and weird things happening, and there's like a killer that has been in the area, that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed Looking Glass Sound. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. And Spin a Black Yarn is next by Josh Mallerman. It's a collection of 5 novellas, and they were very interesting premises that were hard to forget. So memorable. And I have a full review of that as well. I'll have it linked down below. And my written review linked down below has more information on the individual novellas. Next, I read Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Everybody's been talking about this book, and it is really good. This was the book club pick for the horror author spotlight on Discord, and I'm glad that I decided to fit it in. And it is about a gay conversion camp. I think that's what they're called. And this camp has 100% success. And then it goes into some of the ways that it becomes 100% success. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Very, very good and weird, yucky horror elements in there that I loved a lot. Next, I read Mouthful of Ashes by Brianna Morgan, and I read this because I was helping to co-host the Reaper Book Club hosted by Katrina Brown, and it was a short little vampire novella taking place on the boardwalk. It was very much felt like Santa Cruz boardwalk and a lot like the movie The Lost Boys. So a lot of good vibes for me, and that's what I wanted, was something fun and Lost Boys-esque, and that's what I got from this book. It wasn't the best book or story, and I had some issues with it. Some of the character interactions, especially between the main characters that are brother and sister, I didn't really believe. Some of their interactions seemed kind of strange. And there was a part in the end where, like, the most exciting part was only kind of glossed over. And yeah, so I did have a lot of fun with this novella though, and I gave it 3.5 stars. And 2 more books that I finished. Okay, second to last book is Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. And I liked this book quite a bit. I liked it more than Hyde, but I did like Hyde, and a lot of people did not. This one I gave 4 stars. And it's about a mysterious children's TV show that stopped being filmed after a tragedy, and there is going to be a reunion for the last crew, or the last actors that were on the show, and it is kind of a weird, strange book, and there's a lot going on with this show that is not on the surface, you know? Lots of mystery, lots of strange horror elements, and I loved it. And then the last book I finished in September was Born by Jeff Vandermeer. I read this for the Week of Weird, hosted by Fiverr Artsy and Jason's Weird Reads. And I started this the last Week of Weird, and then I managed to finish it this time. And this is a weird novel, science fiction based, about a woman who finds this strange thing that's kind of like a sea anemone, and then it starts to evolve and change, and grow and become sentient, and Born is a character that I loved so much, and it was weird. Born could turn into whatever it wanted. It could look like anything. So there was some interesting things going on with that, and Born started off not knowing anything and was kind of discovering everything for the first time like a child, and that was really cool, cute. And I listened along with the audiobook, and I highly recommend everybody do that if they're going to read this, because the voice for Born was so stinking cute, and I was immediately in love with Born. Yeah, it was a great book. And then it goes to very unexpected places, and I enjoyed this post-apocalyptic book. It's kind of people trying to live through this world has gone through climate disaster type thing, and things are not the way they were, but there are some really advanced technologies that were created by this company, and they're thinking Born is one of those. So anyway, great book. So now I read some other things for Week of Weird. I read several more stories from Songs of a Dead Dreamer and Grim Scribe by Thomas Ligotti, including the one that inspired this picture, I believe. But I read 6 stories. My favorite story I read was Dr. Voke and Mr. Veach. It was a pretty short story, and it's about this man, Veach, who travels to a spooky doll-filled chamber. It's like climbing this staircase that goes to this weird chamber to meet the recluse Voke. And this one was all about setting an atmosphere. Oh, it was so good. So spooky and weird. And it grabbed my attention right away and never let go. So Dr. Voke and Mr. Veach. Oh, it was so good. The rest of them were not as good, harder to keep my attention, or took a while to get into them, that sort of thing. But I'm glad I had that winner. And then I read 5 stories, I think. See, I still need this. I read 4 stories from the Weird Compendium, edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. And this, I gave every story I read in here 5 stars. And the first story in here is The Other Side, which is my translated work. It was translated from German, and that one was a pandemic story, kind of, but very, very strange. It makes people fall asleep for 6 days, and then it leads to some very strange things happening, which starts with animals taking over when all the people are asleep, kind of thing. And then it goes very strange off the rails from there, and I loved it. The Screaming Skull. Oh yeah, and The Other Side was from 1908. Screaming Skull was from 1908. That's from F. Marion Crawford. It's about a skull that screams every day, leaving a man in mental turmoil, filled with grief and guilt. It was very, very, very spooky story. And then next was Shrendivashtar from 1910 by Saki, which is about a lonely boy that makes a polecat ferret into his god, pretty much. He's like a very lonely boy, and he tries to escape his life by going into this barn, and he finds this ferret, polecat ferret, and kind of builds a religion around it, basically. And it was such a good story. All of these were. And then Casting the Ruins by M.R. James from 1911 was another fantastic story with a lot of atmosphere. And is it runes or? I better check and make sure. I can't read my handwriting. Yeah. Oh, runes. Casting the Runes. Magic-filled story. That was a really good one. My first M.R. James I've ever read, and I should check out more of his spooky stories. So this was on my random rolled TBR, and I'm counting it as read because I said that I only had to make a dent in it, like a normal size book, and I got to page 68, and with these double columns, it's more like 130 or so, so I figured that's a good chunk. I made an effort. And Thanks for the Memory was on that TBR as well, and I finished that as well as Mouthful Ashes. So I did finish 3 books from my TBR. The other 4 I did not, which was The Animal by Chad Nicholas, which I am now about 50% in, but at the end of September I was about 30% in maybe. And then The Midnight Kingdom, I actually ended up DNFing that, so I'm not counting it as read. Upgrade. I was supposed to read Upgrade by Blake Crouch, and I didn't even get to start this one in September, so that was definitely a fail. And then Damnation Game by Clive Barker was my last pick, and I did start this. I got maybe 20% in, so I need to finish this at some point, but I did not finish it in September, so that is 4 books that I did not finish for my random rolled TBR. And I did roll my October TBR, and I had to take a 4-point punishment. And basically, I did not film it because I had already done 3 TBR videos for October, and I was feeling October videoed out. But I did it on my own. Basically, for each roll, I had to roll a 20-sided dice, and if I didn't roll at least a 4, which was my punishment number, then I would have to add another roll onto another book onto my TBR. And I started by rolling, I started by rolling an 8 with my original dice, so I had to do the random prompt wheel for 8 books. And for each of those rolls, I rolled a 20-sided dice, and 3 times I got less than 4. Can you believe that? So I had to add 3 more rolls, or 3 more books to my TBR. So I have 11 books on my random TBR. I was able to fit books that were already on my TBR for most of them, but I had to add 4 more books. So I am pretty sure there are quite a few that I won't be finishing, but you never know. I am off to a good start. I've already finished 3 books in October, and I am quite a ways through some more, so things are looking good, I hope. And I will get back to you at the end of the month to let you know how it went for me. I think that's all of the updates for my TBR and my September wrap up. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, and I'll be back very soon with another book related video. Thanks. Bye.